Welcome to another war game review from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And today we're taking a look at Warfighter World War II North Africa from DVG. Now, I already did a video with kind of little solitaire takes on it, because this is a game that regularly hits the table when it's on my own, but we're back here together today because most of the time when we get together, if we're playing this, we play it co-op together.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can play it competitively, but we play Warfighter a lot together. And so wanted to give you kind of our opinions of this game, both together, but also as a co-op game, because I don't know. I feel like that is an underrated part of this game. Like a lot of people play this solo, but I love playing this co-op with you.
Yeah.
Because it's both a bit of a change of pace from a lot of head-to-head games we play, but also having someone to kind of talk through things with and bounce ideas off as you're puzzling through some of this. I enjoy that experience.
The other thing I enjoy about the cooperative element is, you get a certain amount of RPs. I'm trying to remember what it's
resource points,
and you can get a couple of main characters, PCs, right, and then you get a couple of NPCs or different soldiers,
and different types,
MPSs. But I love about most of these DVG leader games and that build out.
Yeah.
And it's fun to sit here and think, okay, what do we want to do here? What kind of weapons do we want to make sure we have? What kind of options do we want to have?
Yeah.
You kind of know, okay, when you're in North Africa, you're going to deal with heat. So we got to have some water. So somebody's got to have some water. And I just love talking through that stuff.
Yes.
The second thing I love about building the team and then playing it cooperatively is I'm controlling somebody, you're controlling somebody, and then we make the decisions together. So it's not like I say, oh, forget you, I'm going to go ahead and attack. You're trying to do this.
Indeed, you should not do that.
Right. I mean, you're trying to work together to maximize your small hand of cards, the limited resources you have and the experience points you have, and play it well. And to me, it's like a puzzle, right? We're trying to puzzily figure out how do we get here and defeat the objective. And I just love it. I really do.
Yeah, so this is a World War II themed tactical card game, effectively, right? They give you a nice board and a bunch of counters as well, but you deck out your soldiers, which is very DVG style, and then you're moving through from your mission card through different locations that you have to find and play, and you fight through both the terrain of those, any enemies that pop up, and you're trying to get through a certain number of locations as you travel. Then you get to your objective, and your objective has like some mission criteria on it.
Destroy this leader, or blow up this bunker, or
all
different types of things.
All sorts of things on that. And so that's what this game is. It's very pulpy. You know, you think we've got 4 guys and think about all the guys that we killed and the damage you do, right?
Yeah.
It's very, almost like a comic book type thing. I think if you could dual wield machine guns in this,
you would be doing it.
It's that kind of a style, right? Lots of running and gunning and doing heroic things. And it's just really fun. Is it the most deep and crunchy simulation?
Probably not.
Absolutely not.
In fact, it's decidedly random.
Yes.
Right? You have a deck of action cards, and you're having to draw from those. You get a certain number per turn based on what your health limit is, and you play through those. You have to take an action to get more of those, and you never know what's going to come up.
Yeah.
Right? I remember early on, we were like, oh, this would have been really good later, the Stuka event that we got in North Africa. Or, boy, I really could use this if I only had a couple of experience points. So it's very random. And then the other thing that's very random is the order in which the location cards come up in the action deck. Then you have to draw from that location deck. But that's part of the fun. You just never know what you're going to get. You never know what's going to happen.
It's almost a little bit upfront in that way, where you're like, instead of like, this is the locations we got to go to one of them, and they all suck. And then there's the randomness of you draw what enemies that come out, and you've no idea what's there. One thing I really do like about these games is they've done a good job with making the enemies, at least within the realms of what this game is, they give them enough where you're like, oh yeah.
They're very challenging.
But like, the artillery, you put it a couple spaces away, and it's screened by things, and it attacks distance.
And it can't necessarily attack at zero range,
Yeah.
right? It's a Nebelwerfer or a whatever. It's having to lob stuff, and they do a good job of that.
Yeah, or it's like they pull a harassing force, and that goes behind you.
Right.
And it has game effects. So it's not just like, you move into a dungeon, what do you find? Oh, it's a monster, right?
Right.
That's a lot of dungeon crawly style games like this, and you could view this in that way. I move into this location, what's there? Well, what's there isn't just like, it's some bad guys. They sometimes act kind of more intelligently or realistically of like,
right.
Oh, you wouldn't find this here, but it's over there.
Yeah.
And some of that elements is really neat and helps to tell the really fun stories that come out of this game.
Well, and I think something that really reinforces that is the different locations.
Yeah.
Some of the locations, I'm trying to remember, in North Africa, we had like a gully. So it was a water source, but no vehicles could get into it. And only it was 0 to 1 reinforcement. So it was a low reinforcement. Yeah. The chances of getting reinforcements were low. But it was cool because we got into the desert and it's like no reinforcements.
No.
It said none because there's nothing there. There's no water. It's hot.
There's no nothing.
Yeah, so
it's great.
It's cool that, they showed up at the water hole or the gully, but not in the desert. So we were kind of dumb moving across the desert because we had to do environment rolls every time. And
2 environment rolls.
Right, and luckily we had some water. And the environment was only a 4, I think it was, on a 10-sider. So that's about 60% of the time you're gonna pass that. I just like how it all ties together. The other cool thing about the enemies is some of them are really powerful. The tanks,
the vehicles,
the armored vehicles, strong. And they're very narrative driven. Like one of them in North Africa was a 2.5-ton truck that rolled up. And if you were there with that during the reinforcement, it pulled another card. So it was like they had a bunch of dudes in the back and they pulled over and they saw you. And it's just stuff like that that's so unique and interesting, but it ties together well.
The little nuances like that, which you could just think is a little throwaway, those help to tell a really cohesive story in a game of this. And that's where, to me, this game shines, is that you will get those stand-up moments of like, will I make the very last roll of the game?
Yep.
Or like, you'll get a really vivid story of things that happen that I really appreciate in a game like this, that's just for fun.
Yeah.
I get a cool story out of it, and I had a really good time doing it.
We always have had a good time with this game. This game, whether it's the modern one or the World War II one, and they have tons of expansion packs. So we played Nazi zombies, I think, right? One time. Yes. And you have holy water and you're like throwing, it's fantastic. It's just a lot of variability, a lot of interesting packs. It's infinitely expandable as well. And every time they keep making more. Yeah, and it becomes somewhat addictive. We kind of joke it's the cardboard crack. We love this. We own World War II. We own North Africa and Mediterranean. We own one of the moderns and Pacific, and we've just played the crap out of them.
And I've played a lot of the expansion stuff with it.
Yeah,
too as well. And some of it's like just more. So you can mix those in, which is nice. But then you get like themed campaigns and different battles, and you get specific missions and locations for those, and
we haven't really explored those for North Africa or Mediterranean yet.
No, I've leafed through them.
Right, I have too.
But I haven't
really gotten them out.
But some of them I'm definitely gonna.
And I will say a lot of them really change. They don't change the game, but they add additional depth to it.
Yes,
I'm thinking back to World War II. We had like the Medal of Honor one.
Yeah, there's a deck of medals that you can try to like go for, and if you achieve those, you get the medal, which gives you a bunch of bonuses.
It was like destroy an enemy with at least 3 health or 3 reticles in one shot, and that kind of stuff just makes it really fun and interesting. Sorry, my blood sugar.
Or there's like the shore landings one.
That one was fun.
That radically changes what you're doing.
Absolutely.
The fortifications deck is really cool because you roll up to your objective and there's a huge freaking building and you have to like then breach that building and then do your objectives.
And those were all for World War II.
But half that stuff's cross-compatible.
Yeah, absolutely. You can play that with these. I think that's what's really cool about the system, and I think it shines. I love how the combat works. Very unique. You're rolling an amount of 6-siders based on the weapon type that you have.
The D10s are the weapons.
The D10s, and you're taking some risks. Oh, I've got a submachine gun that I can do automatic fire. I'm going to roll more dice, but I have a potential to jam that weapon more. So it's a risk reward, and you really got to think through that. And how many times were we like, okay, it's not really worth it here.
Yes.
We're not risking that, because if you jam, you got to use one of your few actions to unjam it, reload. And it's just, and then the penetration is the 6-sider. So you really got to roll 2 dice, and you got to hit the numbers that you're looking for. It's really challenging.
But if you miss only one of them, you at least
get suppress.
And so I like that there's layers of success.
Yep.
Or failure, depending on how you look at it. And that's something I appreciate playing this co-op, is that where I might have been more conservative, it's always nice to have someone egging you on of like, just do it.
Go for it.
So you get elements like that that you don't have in a solitaire game as well, which is that's half the joy of it.
And I know you reviewed it as a solitaire game. It does have a place on any solitaire player's shelf.
Without question.
In fact, I'm going to take Mediterranean home. I'm going to try to play it some solo. I'll do a video on it. And it's just a totally different experience. You're making all of the decisions. You might play more conservatively.
It's a bit more to manage. If you have lots of different things
you have multiple guys. It's just a different experience. So that's why we're trying to review this as a co-op. And we've played this 3-player before. Not these games, but the system. We played with our father-in-law. And you know what? That was a blast too. Just trying to talk through things. And that's what a fire team here does, right? They're trying to talk through, okay, here's what we're going to do. Is this going to work? Let's go for it. You got a big burly guy in the back saying, just shoot, do it. You know.
And then there's the poor mook up front with the wire clippers trying to get through the barbed wire. And he fails his roll three turns in a row. And you're like,
that was a tough roll. I mean, you had to roll 7 or higher.
That's great.
On a 10.
There's some really fun moments of tension and just great joy in this game. What I'll do, very briefly, we'll show you how this works, and then we'll wrap up with a few final thoughts. So here's a look at the map. If you've played Warfighter before, you'll recognize the map layout. It's identical to previous editions of World War II, but it's just got the desert theme and the colors and the background, and the different kind of icons under here as well are different. It does come with its own new action deck, which says North Africa Action Deck on it, and again the locations and the events, the missions, and everything else is new and themed for this. What you can actually see set up here is actually the Battle of Bardia Expansion 72. So you will not recognize any of this stuff from your core games, but this just happens to have what I have set up at the moment when I'm making the video. But it's all the same stuff except like some of the locations and then the nationalities of things you're fighting against. In the core set, you get you have British soldiers that you play with, and you have German hostile decks. In this one, we have Australian soldiers, and we're going against Italian hostiles. That's just what comes in this expansion, along with new missions and locations, effectively. So, I know that's might not be very helpful for this video, but that's what we got. But basically, how this works is you have a soldier, and he's got a little value up here. This is his RP, his resource points, and you'll load them up with weapons that also have resource points, ammunition, grenades, special actions and abilities. And you can do that up to the resources listed on your mission. So this mission is Bardia or Bust, and you can have 52 points on your squad. So this is 16, 17, 18, 19 points right here. In this particular mission, I also had Hart, who's only worth 14 points, and he has the Bren gun printed on his card, so he brings that along for free. You don't have to pay the 9 for that. And then we also had Steed, and I gave him an SMLE rifle. He has a bunch of extra skill cards that he gets for free that are printed that are his little special abilities. Means he's was very, very helpful. But you're going to have a bunch of those guys, and then onto those cards, you're going to put like a number, and then they have a corresponding counter that you move on the board. So you're going to keep all of your guys off board, and you just have this little number 2. This guy represents this with all of his ammunition and guns and weapons and skills. So if you can see, the board is divided up into these columns, and then there's this row at the bottom for your mission, and your mission says put the objective on space number 6. This is space number 6, and that's kind of hard to see, but it's there, it's faint. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces in between those two that you are going to place locations from the location deck that you're going to draw from, and you're going to place and move through those. Enemies are going to pop up, you're going to have to fight those, you're going to have to fight the terrain itself, the terrain's going to have effects that you have to go through, and you're going to move your way through these different locations to get to your objective. And the objective says eliminate all hostiles on this site, and then there's some keywords that there's collateral damage here, and there's also a structure as well. So you always start with a mission and an objective, and you have to fill in the pathway between the two, fight your way there, and do what the objective says. Some objectives say to like have this space clear of hostiles for a certain number of rounds. You have to hold that ground. Some of them are like take out this specific guy, or some it's like do a demolition mission where you have to, expend a certain number of explosive attacks, and you've like blown up a building, so to speak, or a supply dump, right? There's all sorts of things like that. So how do you do that? Well, there's different types of soldiers. This is a regular soldier. His name's Dunch. This one here, it's Heart, but it says NPS, and that stands for non-player soldier. So he's kind of like a more minor character in this game. But anyone who doesn't have anything like that, he's going to have a hand of cards equal to his health value. And so you're going to draw from the action deck, which is this big old deck. Here, the half's over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hand of 6 cards. And these are going to have different actions that you can do, extra things that break all the rules. But each character, generally speaking, has 2 actions that they can take on their turn. Now, if you've got 4 or 5 soldiers, they all have 2 actions each. There are some soldiers, this guy actually has 3 actions if he's at 2 hit points. If he takes 1 hit, he goes down to 2, and then takes another one, he's dead. This guy has 6 health, but he only has the 2 actions. There are skills, like I think there was like combat, like veteran, gives you an extra action, I think it was. So you can get more actions in games, but generally, you're going to have 2 actions. And what can you spend your actions on? Well, on player actions. You spend an action to its used side, and you can move, for example. To move, you use your little movement value. Here's a movement value of 3. And this location, this Gorfer, has an entrance value of 4. So we need to get 1 more movement than this 3. Well, actually, this guy has add 1 movement to the value of all soldiers because of his leadership. So technically his leadership is actually a 4, hence the little mnemonic here. So he can move into here, no big deal. If you can't meet that requirement, for example, let's say Mr. Steed down here, he's only got a 2 movement value. Sure, it's modified by +1 for the leadership, so he actually has a 3. That's still not enough to get to 4. When he moves, you can discard one of your action cards as a resource. Kind of you pay 1 for 1 to get up to what you need. So you only got to pay 1, and he could move in, for example. Why this gets really hairy really quickly is if, for example, this enemy is here, if he is at full health, that's +2 entrance cost, so this will be a 6. So it's really hard to move into this location because there's a machine gun team, right? And it makes thematic sense. The machine gun team is firing at you, making it very difficult to move out into the open, to move into this terrain, right? They're covering your movement and pinning you down. Really neat little pieces of theme in just these tiny little keywords to go on. So you can move for an action, you can shoot for an action, and whatever weapon you have, you're going to shoot that weapon. And there's a couple of little charts here that you're going to roll. You can either shoot in semi-automatic mode with the Thompson or in auto mode, and that tells you here 1 and 3 how many dice you're going to roll. So there's 2 rolls that you make when you're making an attack. you need to roll to hit on your to hit table, and this is at range 0, so you can only attack in the column you're in. Range 1 is the next column over, range 2 is the next one after that. So let's say he's in here, great. That's our second action. We moved in and we can shoot. To shoot, we're going to roll a number of d10s equal to which mode we're shooting in. We're going to roll 3, and we need to hit on 7s to score a hit. However, it's not just d10s to hit. You also roll a d6 for your cover/penetration roll. This guy has a 4 cover value. And that's important because you not only have to be on target, but you also have to penetrate their cover to get them. So this guy, for example, he's got 2 cover. That's not very good. This guy has 4 cover. That's extremely good. Especially because in the Golfer, hostiles gain +1 cover against ranged attack. Well, guess what? This is a ranged attack. So you've got to hit a 5 on a d6, and you've got to succeed on these dice, getting a 7 or more, to kill people. If you fail at one of these, let's say we scored a bunch of hits with the dice, well, that's 2 hits, but we didn't penetrate, we're still going to put some suppress markers down. Conversely, if we hit with this, but we miss with all our other dice, there's a little matrix over here, you're going to suppress them that way as well. So we're just going to roll the dice, we're rolling full auto, because why not? And I rolled, that's funny. So I rolled, this is a 4 +1 cover is 5, this little +1 cover marker, right? Is 6. So I penetrate their cover, however, all of my actual shots were misses, they were inaccurate. And so what I would do here is I would put suppress markers out. So we're going to put out 1 suppress marker. And we do that because no matter how many dice you roll, you only ever do 1 hit. Unless you have, for example, if you have the Bren gun and you deploy the bipod to gain spray. If you have the spray keyword means you can hit with every single one of these. But we didn't do that, unfortunately, and that sucks. Now, if any of our d10s had been on this reload chart of 2, if we roll a 2 or less on any one of these, this ammo would get flipped over to its empty side, and we would have to spend another action, which we don't have, to clear this and discard it to be able to shoot again. So that's the risk of shooting at auto is, yeah, you might be more likely to hit. Oh my gosh, that was a terrible roll. But you're also much more likely to burn through your ammo. And it's, again, a really neat little aspect of the game. But if you have that Bren gun, you can chuck a bunch of dice, and it's possible, and I've seen it, you can hit really well, and you can just wipe cards. And you know, this guy has a 2 reticle, got 2 hit points. If you apply 2 EKIAs by succeeding on both types of dice, he's dead and he's gone, and you get this much experience, and you can spend your experience to power your action cards, because some of these action cards, you upgun them, right? So this says, play when you are paying an entrance cost, add 3 to your movement value. Great. Or I can spend an experience to play when any soldier is paying an entrance cost. Add 3 to any soldier's movement value. So you spend experience to kind of power up your cards, walk it off. You may heal 1 or discard 1 suppress counter. Or I can spend an experience, which again I gained from killing people, to any soldier may heal 1 or discard a suppress counter. You may perform an attack without spending an action. Or I can spend that experience, any soldier may do that. So I've used up all of my actions, but I've got this snapshot in my hand. Great, let's have another go. Let's shoot at full auto again, just because we want to do another hit to this guy. And unfortunately for me, we rolled very poorly. So we don't penetrate. So at best I can do a suppress. And so we roll a suppress because we suppress them with one of our dice. Again, you can only apply 1 result per roll unless you have spray. However, we rolled a 2, which hits our reload. So next turn, we're going to have to reload. But this guy is half dead and suppressed, so when it comes to his turn, he's not going to be able to do anything. So that's also good. Like the suppression in this game is almost as important as doing is doing kills and stuff like that. The suppression's going to get removed, and you have to keep dealing with that. But that's what we're doing. But basically, that's what this game is it's managing your hand of cards, discarding cards, spending cards to enhance your moves, your attacks. You can save up a bunch of actions, go into close combat, and start doing that, which is really fun. Getting to your objective to complete your objective. It's a game a little bit puzzly of managing your team and working out who can do what and what weapons we get them out with and how they fight with those weapons and things like that. But that's generally how the core of this game works. You're progressing through almost like a side scroller, like an old video game. Enemies pop up. You got to get them out of the way because some of the effects on them are really bad. So, for example, this guy pops up. You place him in the rearmost. So let's say we hadn't moved out of there. This guy, when he pops up, he's going to get put in the rearmost, and soldiers cannot leave this location. So these guys pin him here until this is dead, so he can't progress beyond that. So then it's like, stop our progress, turn around, everyone's going to try to shoot these guys, and then move on. And you're doing all of this up against the clock, and the clock is typically very tight, especially when things start to go wrong. The enemy's turn is that there are these reinforcement values, so more of them might pop up. You're never quite safe. They're going to all attack you based on who they pull from this chit to target. Mr. Number 2 is going to try to shoot Mr. Number 2. Same with 2 and 1s. They're going to shoot the 1 and 2 guys. And then they're going to kind of close range on you. And then it's back to you, and you get all your actions back on your whole team. And it's trying to make some more progress, trying to kill some more guys. All the suppressors come off, and we've got to resuppress them. All that kind of stuff. But that's mostly how the game works. What I'll do is I'll wrap up with a few final thoughts. So that's a look at how the game works. This is one of my favorite games of all time.
Warfighter in general is just a really cool system.
Yes.
We tend to like the World War II ones better
Agreed.
than the modern, but it's just fun. It's unadulterated fun. Dice chucking, making decisions about cards. It's just a good time.
Yeah.
It's a good time, period.
I could play this game almost endlessly.
Yep.
Frankly, just as the base game.
Yeah.
And then, there's a billion expansions, sure.
Right.
But, we've played a lot of them, and so I can be judicious enough about the ones that I know that are going to affect the game in a meaningful way and buy those ones. Or then it's just, theme ones that I really like.
Yeah.
But this is... did I mention this in my Desert Island games ages ago? If I didn't...
I think you did, because
I did.
We made the joke about trying to lug the crate.
Yes.
The ammo crate full of cards.
And it is chock full.
It's huge.
There's going to be a point where I can't buy anymore, and I'll have to get a second ammo crate.
But you could buy more. You just lay it on the top.
Well...
You organize it nicely with the little sleeve thingies, but just throw the boxes on top. But anyway, don't let that limit your purchasing.
Have fun with this game.
No doubt.
The fun ratio of this is off the charts for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I enjoy doing what I'm doing. Even if I get crushed, it was like, oh.
And part of what we do these games for is to have an enjoyable time. We play games to enjoy. And there's nothing better than when it's coming down to the last couple of rolls, and you're like, okay, I need to roll a 6 or higher on my attack dice, and then I've at least got to roll a 4 or higher on my penetration die. You know how hard that is?
It's not good.
It's almost impossible, but you roll it, you try it, you might have a card that modifies that, and it's a risk, and you got to go for it. When you
do it, it's like,
and when you don't, it's like, crap. But that's what the game is about. And you know what? You just set it back up.
Yep.
And you do it again. And guess what? It's going to be a completely different experience. Because the locations are going to come up differently. The enemies are going to come up differently.
What you have is... And that's one mission and one objective.
Absolutely.
You change either one of those, different.
Totally different.
You change both of them.
Totally different.
The number of combinations in this is mathematical, right? It's a lot.
And we haven't really even... One of the coolest things, I think, is the action cards. You're trying to figure out how to use those things to the best ability and benefit that you have. A lot of them are fueled by experience points that you only get from killing the enemies. These big tanks, we could never kill them with what we had.
No.
You're going to get 4 experience from those, and man, that can fuel 3 or 4 different cards.
That's a big deal.
And a lot of those cards, the way it works is everybody gets a +1. If you spend an experience, everybody gets a +2. And that's really valuable.
Or yeah, I can do a thing, or spend an experience, someone else can
do a thing.
So you can support each other. Again, that makes for a great co-op play too.
And some of my favorite cards are those support style cards where you play it to the table, everybody gets to move for free, but for it to go into the next turn, you got to spend 3 experience. So you're trying to figure out, okay, we got 2 experience, we got to kill that guy, so we get that experience so we can keep that around, because that is very valuable. When you only have 2 or 3 actions, getting another action is really important.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this game. It's about resource management, it's about planning, it's about ultimately taking a risk and doing some things.
And
it's just great.
Like a lot of good games like this, you're against the clock.
Oh, absolutely.
There comes a point where it's that pressure that's going on. So you're like, go, 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 go. And you feel that in the game when you want to make progress in the game.
Yeah.
You can't just dawdle along. It's very, very enjoyable.
And some of those enemies will either reduce that more, or there was one, like if you kill that, you get to move it back. And it's, man, you got to try to figure out if you can do that or not.
Yes.
And those were the engineers, I think, and they were really tough. But very cool. I just love the varied challenges, the different abilities, the different skills you have. It's just a good time.
So, Warfighter, World War II, North Africa. Check it out if you're interested in. Huge, massive thumbs up from me. I love playing this game.
I love it too,
but,
no doubt.
Check it out if it's something you're interested in. Appreciate you very much for tuning in. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.